How's it going? I'm your host, Lawton Ho, here with Verified Investing, and joining me is Drew Dosick.
How you doing?
We are live for Trading the Close, the daily show that goes over everything that happened in the markets and things that happened today, didn't they, Drew?
Yeah, we're in earnings season. So one of my favorite times of the year, 4 times actually, but earnings season helps stocks move. That's what we got today.
We love volatility.
Yep.
Want to head over to those charts?
Yeah, let's check it out. All right, so we see the Dow Jones. We did go up over 400 points, 500 points to be exact yesterday. Now we're only pushing up 80. Nasdaq up 244. S&P, which is the SPX, is up 0.5%, 30 points. Then we have oil is down 0.6%. Then gold is up just slightly, and Bitcoin is under pressure just a little bit too. But we look over here on the heat map, we see a little mix, right? We see some of the big stocks in green, including Netflix that reported earnings yesterday after the bell. We're going to go over that here in a little bit, but it is a little bit of a mixed bag. Tesla's still under pressure. Apple, even though it is positive, you can see too, it's not up that much, only 0.32%. So it's a little bit of a mixed bag of a bounce. As I said, we're going to get into that Netflix earnings and really kind of show you what the market is doing with that.
Cool. Let's hop into the charts. First here on the SPX, Drew, I just wanted to ask you, I mean, today when I opened my charts, looks like we gapped up.
Yeah.
So what happened overnight?
Yeah, so overnight we had several things happen. We had a new AI joint venture with Oracle, SoftBank, as well as OpenAI, and that really propelled a lot of the technology stocks higher. But what mainly did this too is started beforehand with the earnings announcements. Earnings announcements with such behemoths like Netflix really pushed the stock market higher. That joint venture was just gasoline on the fire for a push higher. But what I want to show you today on the SPX and a lot of these charts that Lawton has selected is the power of parallels. Using parallels to chart gives you a great idea of support and resistance, and we see that displayed exactly here on the SPX. If you see back here, I'll step away, this parallel channel has been in existence for quite some time. One of the things I use to determine if it's a good parallel is a pivot to pivot and pivot and pivot. I have 3 pivots that I need, 1, 2, 3. But then I also need a good corresponding halfway line. What's happened in this parallel? You see we had price action break here, and this was in the middle of December. Then we chopped up, came down, retested the bottom end of this parallel, then fell back down again. And what do we have now? We have a time count moving up right into the bottom end of this parallel, which is going to be resistance. So this time count plus the bottom end of the parallel, it's going to be very tough for the SPX to move higher gradually over the next few days. Okay, so for some of our newer viewers that aren't as familiar with parallels, and like I said, like you said, there's a bunch of parallels we're going to go over today. Yeah. So how does parallels usually provide support and resistance lines? Right. So parallels, in essence, are a trend line, right? We've got one trend line on the bottom, one trend line on the top. These trend lines, when you do connect price to them, you can see how price reacts. You can anticipate when we're going to get a bounce. You can anticipate when we're going to get a fall in the stock. And so it's amazing to do because these lines can extend out forever. This line's been there before, but look how price went into it and is now getting rejected, especially when you factor in a time count. That's something I go over in Mastering the Overnight Trade, one of my courses. These are so powerful to recognize, especially into resistance. It would have almost been impossible for us to push higher through that line today if we didn't gap above it.
Cool. All right, let's go and take a look at the Qs.
Yeah, so the Qs, this is significant too. As we saw in the SPX, we had this move that was moving up into resistance, right? We have another time count on the Qs breaking out of this downward sloping parallel, but it's going straight into X marks the spot from trend lines created all the way back from the August 5th lows and also right here in the very beginning of August. So these trend lines have held price in Qs on the Qs for most of the most recent history, but now we're coming right back up into resistance. Could we push higher? Absolutely. What would likely happen over the next couple days if we do have good buying pressure is a chop and consolidation to pause, because this is a very vertical move up right into resistance.
Okay, cool. Let's take a look at the SMH, my favorite thing to trade.
Yeah, Lawton is very successful in our live day trading room, trading the SOX and the Soxel. He does a fantastic job, but what he does is analyzes the SMH. And the SMH, we see another parallel. Initially, we had this down-sloping trend line that was holding price down. We have since now broken up. And if Lawton, if you could delete that trend line just real quick.
The one in the middle?
Yes, yep, that one right there. I think this is going to illustrate what's going on right now. As I said before with parallels, the middle area of that parallel can be resistance when price is going up, and it can be support when price is coming down. What do we have here on the SMH? SMH moved vertically right into that 50% area of this parallel. Now that doesn't mean the move is over for SMH. It means that it just needs to kind of pause and potentially consolidate or even come down just a little bit before continuing higher.
So if I'm getting, and I'm going to walk over here, if I'm understanding this correct, so it broke above, so now this is now support, this up here would be resistance. And does this middle line also provide support and resistance?
It does, yep. So what we see here, let me get this, cancel.
I got you.
There we go.
Right here.
All right, so this middle area, as you see here, where's the tool?
It didn't pop up. Yep, click on that.
There we go. There we go. All right, so see this middle area, and it's highlighted a little bit better if I draw it. When price action came up to it initially, it got rejected. It made another attempt, got rejected. It made another attempt and paused. And so whenever you have this sort of action right here on the center of this parallel, then you know that this parallel is a good parallel, and then it's also going to provide resistance and support, much like the question that you asked.
Okay, amazing. And if you can get rid of that, we'll move on to the 10-year yield.
Yeah, 10-year yield is very important. As you know, this controls interest rates for us. So a couple weeks ago and last week, I calculated a measured move right up to about 5%. There's still a possibility of us rebounding and going back up, but you can see here with this parallel, again, price action stayed right here on the middle area of the parallel, broke up, and then since is now coming down. We have a lot of support, not only on the bottom end of this parallel, but then on these other trend lines that are actually intersecting, making another X marks the spot area. Could we now see inflation starting to tick up in the coming days and potentially pushing the 10-year yield higher, putting pressure on the markets? Keep an eye on this parallel. It'll help you anticipate movements in the stock market.
So this is a parallel inside of a parallel.
That's correct.
It's a parallel inside of a parallel. So and today's all about parallels.
Yeah.
So how do you know if a parallel is generally bearish or bullish?
It's a good question. If generally price action is gradually going up, the price is normally, usually breaks to the downside on a movement of parallels going up. When parallels are moving down, the probabilities are higher that it will break to the upside. So with this upsloping parallel, price can continue up for an awful long time. So it doesn't mean that just because you have an upward sloping parallel that price is going to immediately go down. We can continue in this for the rest of the year. But normally whenever price breaks out of these parallels, the probabilities are higher for it to break down on an upward sloping parallel.
Got it. Okay, understood. Let's go to the DXY.
Yeah, here another parallel on the dollar. You see this parallel has now broken. We have major support right here on the DXY. It's just above 107, but you see that does string together previous pivot points right here. And so with this break, what's likely to happen, much like we saw on the SPX, we're likely to have price come right down into this area and then move right back up and retest that area on the parallel.
Okay, so if I wanted to trade this using this parallel, how could I trade this?
Simple enough, short at resistance right here, and then buy at support. Since we've now punctured this support, this next area would be another entry for you to then bring that average down for when price to go back up and retest that parallel. You can take profit right there.
At the bottom of the parallel.
Correct.
Cool. All right. Simple enough. Let's go to gold.
Yeah. What do we see here? Another parallel. All right. So price action on gold has fluctuated. We've had a nice down move in November, but we have been continually moving higher. The next area of resistance, which also coincides with our recent all-time high, is going to be the 50% area of the parallel. Much like I told you on your question, when price is moving up to the 50% area, it has gotten rejected, moved up to the 50% area, got rejected again, but then caught support right down here at the bottom end of the parallel. You can short the resistance, buy the support. Parallels make it simple and make it easy to trade.
Yeah, easy enough. Easy enough.
Yeah, like a red light and a green light.
So talking about big news, we talked about Netflix
Yes.
earlier, and they released earnings yesterday. If I'm not mistaken, they were already at the highs of the charts, right? But let's see what Netflix did. Talk to me a little bit about this crazy move on Netflix.
You see this too on the charts. Netflix made all brand new all-time highs. With this chart, what an amazing gap up. Here we closed right around 860. We gapped up and opened today almost at the $1,000 mark. But if you could, Lawton, scroll back out on the chart. You see this yellow trend line that's inclining. The origin of this, and again, the longer the trend line, the more powerful that trend line is going to be. You see this trend line. Lawton can keep going back and back and all the way back. This trend line originated in 2020. And all I did, and these are so simple to do, take a major pivot, connect it to another major pivot. That gives me an angle of trajectory of which way price could go in the future. All I did from that point, and I left it on my chart, just extended it all the way out and look exactly where price went to today. If you zoom back in, you see price opened up right here, right into that trend line, and price all day today has sold off. So what this tells me is that it's almost like a sell the news event, especially when you combine that with the volume candle right here. This volume candle is higher than all of the most recent history before you get to this big green candle that designated that price was going to start moving up. So when I see price action like this, hit resistance, very high volume candle, that tells me the likelihood and probability of Netflix to continue lower is very high. That doesn't mean we won't see a little bounce up, maybe even retest this trend line, but ultimately this volume and that price action is telling me Netflix has more downside to come.
Yeah, and taking a look at this Netflix, I mean, that candle is just a straight red solid candle. Does that mean anything? Does it have any significance?
Yes, yeah, that's a good question. The larger the candle and combined with big volume, in essence says that that candle is in control of price action moving forward. So when that happens, you can anticipate, as I said, this candle to push price down, but when that ends is when price finally gets above this candle. And for it to get above this candle, it's going to require an awful lot of volume. So in the near term, it's not looking that great for Netflix. We'll see what can happen though over the coming days. We do have support on it. Here's the previous all-time highs. So we're really not that far away from that support. So maybe we touch the previous all-time highs, get a relief bounce, but still this candle is going to be pushing price down.
Cool. All right, let's take a look at ARM because they went crazy as well today.
Yes, and if you notice, this earnings on ARM didn't occur yet. ARM was really a sympathy play that was really pushing higher with the other AI Oracle play that I mentioned to you before. And you see ARM, look at this parallel channel that developed. This is just so beautiful. One of our head trader in here, Benjamin Poole, took a day trade on this chart today. But if you look at this is beautiful. This is an upward sloping parallel channel behaving at the 50% area as I've mentioned, but price today opened here right around 160 and literally within the first 20-30 minutes skyrocketed up to right about the 180 mark. But you see what happened right here. You can anticipate, if you look back on the chart, there is a gap fill right here, but price didn't stop at that gap fill. It went higher. So one can figure why did price stop where it did? If there wasn't a level there that I could find, but you know what helped me find it? This parallel. This parallel is simple enough and it just helps my eyes visualize what that stock is going to do.
Cool. And I want to give people a little bit of potentially actionable information. So if I'm looking at this, right, as a trader, and I'm like, okay, I missed the move on ARM. It went up 1 billion% today. How can I make money on this? Where should I buy it? Should I short it somewhere? I mean, I know there's a parallel, but it just broke past it up here. Am I going to short it up here, or what am I going to do?
A couple things you could do. Yes, it's at the high of the parallel, so you could short it. If you're more interested in going long, what I would recommend is hanging tight, waiting. See this pivot right here? It's roughly about where we opened, which also by the time price gets down there is going to coincide with the 50% area of that parallel. So you could wait for price to get back down, buy it if you want it. If you're a little bit more aggressive, like Lawton mentioned, you could start a short position up here. Keep in mind with this momentum, we could trail this parallel moving forward. So keep stops in your mind so that if price does move above that parallel, you can stop out or plan to add. Because ultimately, as we discussed before from Lawton's question, these upward sloping parallels normally break to the downside.
Cool. All right, last chart for you. I know you're tired. Thank you so much for your time, Drew. Bitcoin, we got to talk about Bitcoin. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, it's in the 100,000s, but today was not a great day for Bitcoin.
No, not a great day, but really just chopping around inside another parallel. So as we see here, this yellow trend line has designated the neckline of the head and shoulders pattern that was on Bitcoin. As we see that price tried to break down right here, never did. This one candle extended and helped me create the bottom end of this parallel channel. Now this parallel channel is giving me insight, is helping me understand price can go up to the top of this without that much resistance. So we've seen here too, when price did go to the 50% area, we paused for a couple days, and then now we're just chopping around in the top half of this parallel channel. Expect, as long as price stays up here, expect 110 to get tagged. We're so very close to it, and we could even pierce above this parallel channel and then likely start to come back in, because again, upward sloping parallels are bearish, and so those are likely going to eventually break to the downside.
Okay, I mean, so if you're a buyer and you're looking at this chart, you said, I could probably get to 110 without much resistance. So is this a place you'd buy, or would you just hang tight and wait?
Well, depends on your strategy. If you're a hodler, I do think Bitcoin can go higher. I do think it will go higher. If you're a hodler, I would plan multiple entries. Say you wanted to get skin in the game and get Bitcoin now, go ahead. You know, you can throw in a very minimal position. Price, though, likely is still going to come down to the bottom of this parallel at some point. It doesn't guarantee that it will, but it's likely to come down to the bottom of this parallel again, if not break this parallel. So you have to be prepared. Whenever you're investing in cryptocurrency, there's large swings, okay? So make sure you go light and plan a strategy for multiple inputs to bring your average to a great place.
Thank you so much, Drew. All right, guys. So with that being said, we have officially partnered with a crypto exchange. I don't know if you heard about it last week, but we'll play the commercial now. Hey guys, Lawton here with Verified Investing, and I have some really exciting news. We've decided to partner with Blowfin, our first ever crypto exchange that we're partnering with. So let's hop in and take a look. So immediately going onto the website, you can trade all the things that you're used to trading: Bitcoin, Ethereum, and more. So with Blowfin, you can do all your charting right here directly on the website. It has an integration with TradingView, so you don't actually need to go on TradingView. So I love that integration. And for all you cowboys out there, you can go up to 150x leverage. Now be careful, because you can lose it all really fast, but you can also make a lot of money. Stay tuned, and I'll show you how to trade next time. All right, guys, well, you heard that very handsome gentleman talk. We have officially partnered with Blowfin, and my big head is in the way. But if you sign up starting tomorrow, all the way to February 6th, and deposit and trade, you can win, or you can get up to $100,000 in rewards to trade with. So just to show you how it works, right here it says if you put in $100, you can get up to $30 of a futures bonus. And if you have a lot of money and you want to deposit $1 million, you can get up to $100,000 in a futures bonus. So definitely go and check out Blowfin. It's the crypto exchange that I use, that we trust here at Verified Investing, to go long, to go short, and use up to 150 times leverage. All right, with that being said, I'm going to come back to me and Drew. Thank you so much for joining us. This was Trading the Close. My name is Lawton Ho, and
I'm Drew Dosick.
And we hope you have a good day, guys. And we'll see you next time on Trading the Close.
Have a good one.